What's going on, guys? We're back again. This one's a little bit different. I know you're used to seeing the edited breakdowns for me, but we're going to do a little live stream. Old school classic live stream speaking about Erin Blanchfield versus Maycee Barber. A lot of people watch the UFC, but very little amount of people actually earn money from watching the UFC. That's exactly what I do. That's exactly what my members do. And that's exactly what everybody who watches my YouTube channel tries to do and what I try to help them to do. So in this show, we're going to speak about this card upcoming this weekend, not only from an analytical perspective, but also from a betting perspective, for a betting lens. We're going to try and make money. You can make money from winning on the UFC. Let me tell you exactly how to do it. You have to spot inefficiencies, inaccuracies with the betting lines. I'll get more into that as we speak about the fights. No further ado, let's bring it up right now. This live stream is extremely impromptu. No one even knows I'm live. I don't expect to get loads of viewers, but let's see. We got 22 inside already, so maybe we will. So the first fight of the night, or the last fight of the night, I should say, which is the first fight we will talk about, is Erin Blanchfield versus Maycee Barber. This is a great fight, boys. A very, very good fight. You know, I think this is one of the best women's fights you can actually make in the UFC today. And it's going down in a couple of days, so I'm very excited for it. You know, a lot of people moan about women's MMA. I love women's MMA because it enables me to make a lot of money. You know, a lot of bookmakers misprice the lines with women's MMA. And I feel like they may have done one here with Maycee Barber, man. Maycee Barber is a beast. Seeing her at plus 200 was kind of insane. You know, seeing her at plus 215 or whatever was even more insane. I mean, at the end of the day, man, you've got two super high-level combatants taking place, fight taking place in the octagon this weekend. And you want to make a girl plus 200? I've got no idea why she's this big of a price tag. And I'm going to justify why I believe that. And maybe I'm wrong, right? But this is the way I justify it. Maycee Barber is the better striker in this matchup, right? That's pretty clear for me to see. I believe that she has the better striking, the better kicking, the better punching, the better elbows, the better knees in the clinch. Everything to do with striking, this girl does better. Erin Blanchfield is a dog. She throws a lot of volume, you know, so she does well in the striking as well because of her pace and pressure. But there's only one girl who is going to be winning the striking exchanges consistently on the feet here. I could even see a world in which Erin Blanchfield catches Maycee Barber with shots for about a minute and a half, and then Maycee Barber lands about 4 or 5 shots, and she just does more damage and wins the entire 2-3 minute sequence off literally a couple of shots, right? So that's the difference here. Yes, Erin Blanchfield may keep up on volume, but I don't think she's going to be landing the damage that Maycee Barber can land. And as we've seen time and time again throughout the entire history of UFC, but specifically in the last 5 years, damage is weighed a lot more than just volume or even takedowns and control these days, right? Not every judge is the same, but for the most part, the new rules are adopted and the judges are scoring damage higher than they're scoring takedowns and control if you're not doing damage, if there is some damage in the rounds to outweigh that. I don't see a world in which Maycee Barber gets run over here, but the bookmakers are saying that she is going to get run over because Erin Blanchfield is a minus 300 favorite. Erin Blanchfield took down Rose Namajunas in round 5 of their fight. And guess what happened? Rose Namajunas got back to her feet. Now, if that was Maycee Barber and she got back to her feet, then I would say that the defensive jiu-jitsu of Maycee Barber and Rose Namajunas are pretty comparable. You know, Maycee Barber's never been finished on the ground, and she has gone with girls that, you know, have decent finishing abilities. And Rose Namajunas has. And so I believe that, you know, if she can get back up to her feet in round 5, I believe Maycee Barber can get back up to her feet in round 5. Maycee Barber has elite cardio for the division. Much better cardio than Rose Namajunas, which is someone who got up from in round 5. Like I said, the reason I wanted to illustrate that point, specifically the round 5 get up from Rose Namajunas, is to tell you that Erin is not this cold-blooded killer to where anytime she takes anyone down, they instantly get finished. No. Girls are not only getting up from underneath her, girls are doing it in the 5th round when they're tired, right? So I think that we could see I think we're going to see a war in this fight. I think it's going to be a very close fight. I think it's going to be back and forth. I think Erin's going to get multiple takedowns. I think Maycee's going to defend multiple takedowns. Erin Blanchfield has gone in multiple fights where she couldn't get a takedown. Filho, she couldn't get a takedown or any form of control on her. JJ Aldridge, she couldn't get a takedown or any form of control on her. Tyler Santos, she couldn't get a takedown or any form of control on her. Now, yes, those girls are physical, and JJ Aldridge has good takedown defense. She's not very physical, but I don't see why Maycee Barber can't stuff a couple of these takedowns. Those girls stuff them all, right? So definitely Maycee Barber can stuff a couple of takedowns. Now, we've seen Maycee Barber lay on her back and not look good on the back, right? You go back to the Andrea Lee fight. This is a fight that everyone's going to look at because they ain't looking at the Rebus one. I know that if you're on the Erin side. So they're going to look at the Lee one, right? That's the one, or maybe the Maverick one. So let's speak about the Lee one. I think Maycee Barber is extremely volatile on the ground because I've seen fights where she's defended takedowns. She looks great. She's getting taken down. She gets straight back up to her feet. But then I've seen fights where she lays on her back a little bit too much. Against Andrea Lee, she laid on her back a little bit too much. 3 months later, she took on Amanda Ribas, who is a much better jiu-jitsu fighter than Andrea Lee. And Ribas could not control her on the ground once. She couldn't control her. And she tried. Contrary to popular belief, she tried. She took her down twice with a head and arm throw, which again is kind of alarming, but she got taken down twice with a head and arm throw. Ribas tried to maintain top control from the head and arm throw, tried to spin into Maycee Barber. Maycee Barber easily got hold of Ribas's hips, body, and was able to retain guard, right? So she was able to retain guard against Amanda Ribas, who is a much better jiu-jitsu player than Andrea Lee, but she couldn't maintain guard as well against Andrea Lee. That tells me that she's a volatile fighter. That tells me that maybe in the Andrea Lee fight, she wasn't expecting takedowns. She didn't, practice the get-ups as much as she did against someone like Ribas. And then Ribas, she had a breakout performance, right? Where she looked very good on the mat. So, look, overall, guys, I'm not going to continue about this fight. I just think it's a very close fight. I think it's a war. And I think that it should be lying close to Pick'em. But instead, you want to make Erin Blanchfield a minus 300 favorite. So I completely disagree with the price tag. We will see if I'm right or wrong. And one thing I'll finish off by saying is that, boys, if you know me by now, then you're going to know, you're not even going to need to listen to what I'm going to say. But if you are new to me and you don't know me, the reason and the way we have the ability to make money from betting on sports is, and listen to me closely here, we're not gambling. We're not picking on who we think is going to win, right? That is not how you make money on sports betting. What we're going to do is try to mimic the sports books, right? We want to do whatever the bookmakers are doing. Why? Because the bookmakers are billion-dollar companies. Yes, I said billion with a B. A lot of these guys are billion-dollar companies. Denise Coates is the richest woman in the UK. The richest woman in the UK. What does she do? She owns Bet365, right? Shout out to my girl, Denise. So what do we want to be doing? Mimicking the sports books. What do the sports books do? They line fights, matches, games, horse races. They line events. They line sports events. They put a price tag next to them. That's what minus 110 is. That's what plus 100 is. Shout out to plus 100. We've got 100 live viewers right now. What is 2 to 1? Have you ever seen that? You bet on it all the time. What is it? What does it mean? The sports books are lining. They're making odds for these fights, matches, races. You want to do the same. Don't bet. Don't bet. Make your own lines. And then based on your own lines, you find out where the inaccuracies are with the sports books lines. That's how you make money. Let's get back to the fight. We speak about the main event now. The co-main event, I should say. We're going to speak about the co-main event. So scroll down a bit. So we got, well, this is incorrect. This is not the co-main event. Mateusz Gamrot versus Ludovic Klein is not the co-main event. I'm pretty sure it's not the co-main event. No, it is the co-main event. What am I talking about? I'm thinking of a different card. Sorry, I just recorded a video for a different card. That'll be out next week. You know the boy, always putting the work in to give you the goods. So listen, Mateusz Gamrot versus Ludovic Klein. I'm going to run through these fights very quickly now, right? If you want my full card official breakdown, go to the link in the bio. You can get all of my bets instantly. If you want to find a longer form video of me, Parlay Madness later this week. Anyway, let's get into this one. Mateusz Gamrot versus Ludovic Klein. I think that Ludovic Klein has been on a decline. No, sorry, incline, right? In some of his recent fights. It seems like Klein is on an incline. And I could say the opposite about Mateusz Gamrot. He seems like he's on a bit of a decline for me. Now, could I be wrong? No, I couldn't be. Mateusz Gamrot is not the fighter he used to be 3-4 years ago. In my humble opinion, in my not so humble opinion, in my whatever mood I'm in at that time opinion. And right now, I'm not feeling humble. I'm feeling confident. I'm confidently saying that Mateusz Gamrot is on a decline, right? I've seen time and time again this guy get hurt on the feet, hurt more often than he used to get hurt, wobbled more often. I believe that he isn't the fighter that he once was. And even in his prime, he still is a fighter that goes to close decisions. Let's go back to the Guram Kutateladze fight, right? Who now is not on a great incline himself. I believe he may have been cut from the organization. He went 50-50. He went in a 40-60 fight, 40 his way, by the way, in a fight that he won against a fighter who kind of just got exposed in the UFC, Jordan Vucinic. And then his subsequent fight, what happened in his subsequent fight? He got destroyed by Cowboy Fernandez, who seems like a fringe UFC fighter. So he's going to a split decision with him in his prime. Then he's going to a split decision with Arman Saruki. And what that tells me is that this guy fights to the level of his opponent. He can have a very, very good fight against a very good fighter, but he can also have a very, very bad fight against a bad fighter, right? So he's very volatile in and of himself. Now, when that happens, you don't want to be laying favorite price tags on him for the most part. How has that gone for you if you've laid a favorite price tag on him? Not very well. You haven't got value that many times. I don't think he was value against RDA, a -3,400. I don't think he was value against Jalen Turner, a -200. I don't think he was value against Guram Kutateladze at a big price tag. I think he was value against Gamrot when he's an underdog, right? I think he was value against Stevens when he's a big favorite, I guess. That's the only one you can really point to. Scott Holtzman, I mean, he's fighting the lowest level of the division at that time, right? So maybe Stevens not the lowest level, but Holtzman, was definitely on his way out. Basically, what I'm trying to say is when he's a favorite, he hasn't covered his line that often. And I think we've got someone like Ludovic Klein, who, again, is a bit volatile. Sometimes he fights a lot better than other fights. And I don't really know what it is. Maybe it's a style thing, because the two fights that he hasn't fought, or the three fights that he hasn't fought very well in, has been Nate Landwehr. I'm going off the top of my head here. Nate Landwehr, Jai Herbert in that draw. And then there was one other one. I can't remember. But yeah, anyway, it might just be a style thing. I mean, Nate Landwehr has a similar style to Mateusz Gamrot. He'll pressure, push the pace. But I think that there's differences in that. I think Nate Landwehr is more willing to throw on the feet, whereas I don't think Gamrot's going to be able to throw on the feet as much. I also think Ludovic Klein's a lot better than he was many, many years ago when he fought him. So I just feel like right now, the career trajectory is all on the side of Ludovic Klein. I think he's extremely strong, balanced in his stance, which is going to make him hard to take down. And I think that he has all the damage upside here, probably the finishing upside. I do think that Mateusz Gamrot late submission is on the table as well. But I do think that for the most part, Ludovic Klein has the damage and big moment upside in this fight. And it really just comes down to, does he have enough big moments in the fight to win him the fight? I tend to think that, I don't know, but I think that's 50-50. And guess what? Ludovic Klein is an underdog right now. So again, I'm saying that the line is incorrect. I'm liking the underdog again. And that's Maycee Barber at +200. And that's Ludovic Klein at +130, +140, or whatever range he is now. I'm not as confident in this one as I am in the Maycee one, because I don't think the line is as wide in this one, right? We've got a +200 versus a +130. Completely different conversations. I think both fights are equally equal, right? I think both fights are extremely close and are going to be somewhat of a war and a close fight. But one is +130 and one's +200, right? But yeah, I mean, that's all I've got to say here. 150 live viewers. So shout out to all of you guys. I put no promo out for this episode, so I really appreciate you joining me. If you haven't already liked the video, subscribe to the video. And yeah, we'll move on. Ludovic Klein value, in my opinion. Billy Ray Goff versus Brahimaj. So yeah, this is a weird one. I think that someone's going to get night-night, going to go sleep in this one. Whether it's Brahimaj going to sleep because Billy Goff just punches him too many times, and Billy Goff's surf, swarm, wave just drowns Brahimaj, or maybe Brahimaj takes him down, dominates him, and grapples him. I saw a fight with Billy Ray Goff on the regional scene where he gets taken down and put in some bad positions on the ground. And man, Brahimaj will do that to you in round one. But if you don't finish Billy Goff, he's going to do what he did in that fight and come back and put it on you. So yeah, man, I really feel like this is a somewhat volatile fight, but I definitely trust Billy Ray Goff way more after literally 3 minutes, right? I trust him more in round one late. I trust him more in round two, and way more in round three, way more over a decision, way more on the feet. I just trust that guy more. So I think he should be a considerable favorite. I would never play Billy Goff because I think he could be in bad trouble early. I think Ramiz, I'm going to call him Ramiz. I think Ramiz can land a big shot on the feet, hurt Billy Goff. I think he can take him down, choke him out, ground and pound. I think he can do that as well. I think Ramiz round one sub is always a live shot. So, yeah, there's no way I would lay a massive price tag on Billy Goff, but I do think that he gets it done. I think Billy Goff wins in round 2 or round 3. I think that could be a good bet. And I think we could even bet it doesn't go to a decision at minus 220 or something. Pretty generous, in my opinion. You said you've bet inside the distance. I like that one. I think it's a good bet. Moving on, we got Dustin Jacoby versus Bruno Lopes. So, yeah, I kind of feel like this one is similar to the Billy Goff fight in that I feel like, you know, the favorite should be a considerable favorite, but I can't trust to bet him at the price tag. So Dustin Jacoby should win this fight. I even think he can get a KO here. Now, you know, I used to bet Dustin Jacoby via decision all the time, but I feel like this is another fight where he could actually get a KO. Now, I don't think his KO over Vitor Petrino is very predictable. The one against Jung, in my opinion, not very predictable, but I do think the predictable one, if any, is probably the one against Bruno Lopes, and maybe Kennedy and Zetriku, just because, you know, he does fumble the bag at times. So I do think that Bruno Lopes could get caught on the chin here and get knocked out. You know, I've seen him hurt multiple times. I've also seen him knocked out. But I feel like Bruno Lopes has somewhat of a style to potentially, you know, cause Jacoby some issues, mainly in the clinch, mainly with his cardio, mainly with his pace, mainly the fact that he does throw heavy hands and they are big guys, and Jacoby has been hurt before. So, you know, I see some issues in this fight for Dustin Jacoby, but I do think that Jacoby is going to get the win. You know, I think ultimately he's just too much of a level above Bruno Lopes. I think he can win this fight via decision. I trust him more as the fight goes into round 2 and round 3 based on his veteran nature, based on some late finishes he's got recently against Vitor Petrino, namely. So he still carries his power late. He can throw late. And also just, you know, based on the fact that I don't think Bruno Lopes is probably a good enough wrestler or control grappler to take him down and hold him down considerably. If he can do that, again, you know, he's going to look like value. Ultimately, I'm going to pick Jacoby. I'm 50-50 between if he gets the KO or the decision. The KO is actually a worse price than the decision, which I don't agree with. I think they should be lying equally. But we're getting, you know, plus 220s, plus 230s, maybe even more on the decision. So I don't mind Dustin Jacoby decision here, but based on Bruno Lopes's chin and the ungenerous line, I won't be playing it myself. But that's, I guess, where I would say the value is held between that or KO. But obviously the decision is higher, so, you know, or a bigger price. Next fight is Vieira versus Maycee Chiasson. Not much to say about this one, guys. I think it's a very close fight. I think it's a mirror matchup somewhat, just in terms of the level where they're at, probably what they're going to try and do, which is, in my opinion, a lot of the fight will be played out in the clinch. A lot of the fight will probably be played out in the grappling, you know, just because I think Maycee's going to force it there. I don't know what to say about this one, guys. You know, in my opinion, Vieira's shown a little bit better in her career, but I do think that Chiasson has leveled up a little bit. She seems to be improving a little bit. She's definitely not trustworthy, but guess what? Vieira's not trustworthy at all. You know, sometimes she just lets minutes slip away and, you know, she can get takedowns and be on top and still not do much with them, you know, and still potentially even lose rounds. So I don't know what to say about this one. I feel like Chiasson might get it done just because I think that she's on a better career trajectory than someone like Vieira, you know. But at the end of the day, man, you can't trust Chiasson. I remember I bet her as an underdog, plus 180 against Irene Aldana, winning the fight handedly. And she gets kicked in the liver from a grounded position and just quits on herself, you know. Now, that type of fighter I can't trust. Maybe it was a very, very painful shot. I'm sure it was, right? But I still can't trust you if you're getting up kick KO'd, you know, like up kick KO'd body shot, you know, up kick body shot KO. It's just, I just can't trust you in an MMA fight anymore. So I'll go with Chiasson to get the win in a split decision type fight, or in a fight where it's 1-1 going into round 3 and she grits out round 2. She wins 29-28 comfortably, but it was still kind of close. Zachary Reese versus Dusko Todorovic. Not much to say about this one, guys. Very, very ugly fight. I have no read on this one, guys. I have no read. You know, I'm coming out here and saying there's a crazy line in the main event. Co-main event's a bad line. I'm also coming out in some fights and telling you I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know. I feel like if it goes late, which I feel like it definitely won't, then Dusko can cause some problems for Reese. I really do. But, man, I think Zach's going to land some big, big shots early. The issue is I don't know if he's going to finish him, right? As I always say, right, it's very easy, or it's a lot easier to predict knockdowns and wobbles. but it's very hard to actually predict finishes because, to finish someone completely, a lot of times it depends on them. It doesn't depend on you. You might empty your gas tank trying to finish someone and the guy's just not getting finished because he's just too tough. And then what happens? Then it's like volatile. The fight turns volatile because maybe you're tired. So, yeah, I feel like Zach's going to hurt Dusko early. I also think Dusko can hurt Zach at times. Big pass fight for me. I'm going with Zach because I'm more confident that Zach lands big shots first. And as I always say, again, this is a bit of it's obvious, but some people don't think of it, right? Sometimes people say, oh, this guy has big upside late, then this guy has big upside early, and they equate them the same. A lot of times they're not the same, and I'll tell you why. Because the early upside comes first, right? So let's say a fighter is, all right, let me make it clear. This is easy to understand. Let's say a fighter is super likely to knock someone out in round 1, right? But his opponent is super likely to knock him out in round 3. Who are you going to bet at a pick and price tag? You're going to bet the guy who's going to finish in round 1, right? If they're both have equal chances to finish in round 1 and finish in round 3. Why? Because round 1 comes first. So it's your turn first, right? It's your turn first. So you should actually be a big favorite if the chances are exactly equal, if both of you are the same toughness and stuff like that. So I think Zachary Reese has way more of a chance to hurt Dusko earlier than Dusko has a chance to hurt him. So I'm going to pick Zachary Reese for that. And I think he should be a fairly sized favorite because of that. And he currently is. He's sitting at a -250. So the next fight is Jafel Filho versus Alan Nascimento. I like Nascimento in this one. I think that he's probably the better striker. I've seen him throw up some pretty good striking ability against Jake Hadley, when they thought he was throwing some solid head kicks, some solid body kicks. I think that one of those kicks could hurt Filho. I think Filho could get hurt with a kick to the body or a kick to the head. I mean, I've seen Filho get hurt in multiple ways. So I think that could hurt. I also seen Alan Nascimento throw some good solid strikes against Raulian Paiva before the Hadley fight on Dana White's Contender Series. So I've seen a bit more of him on the feet. Filho will go forward and throw strikes, but I think he's a little bit more vulnerable in this fight. Alan seems way tougher, way harder to finish, way more durable. And while I do believe he slows down, I also believe that he has that dog in him and he can grit out late finishes. I think he's a bit more likely to submit and a bit more likely to knock out and just less likely to get hurt in general, whether the finish materializes or not. So, yeah, I'm going with Alan Nascimento in this elite banger of a matchup. The next fight is Kurt Holobaugh versus Jordan Leavitt. I'm going quick, but I have to go soon. Kurt Holobaugh versus Jordan Leavitt. Yeah, all right. I don't know what to say about this one. I think Jordan Leavitt's going to be able to get the takedowns to win the fight. The thing about Jordan Leavitt is that he's actually pretty good at getting his game going in the octagon. Like, if you watch his fights, he even lulls Trey Ogden into his type of game at times. And Trey Ogden's the best at lulling you into your game. So I think that was Trey Ogden's debut. So we do have to give him a bit of a pass. But I think it just tells you the ability of Jordan Leavitt. Even with Chase Hooper and Paddy Pimblett, he still was able to get them to play the game that he wants, which, by the way, they want to play that game as well, the grappling, rolling game. But it also gives Jordan his best chance to win. I think if Paddy goes out there and strikes with Jordan, he has more of a chance to win if he goes out there and grapples with him, right? And I think that might not be the same for Chase, although it may be. It probably is. But Jordan still was able to make them go and grapple. He was able to do it with Trey Ogden, where, he had a low outpaced kickboxing fight. And then who was the other guy? He made this other dude do it as well. Can't remember this guy's name, but he fought someone else and he just lulled them into his game. So I feel like Kurt Holobaugh is going to be able to be lulled into his game here. Kurt Holobaugh is going to walk forward, throw some shots, get taken down, and Jordan Leavitt is going to take him down. Probably win via decision because Kurt seems pretty good at defending off the back. He likes to be on his back, though, which is not good. I mean, if we look here, Jordan has a 2.19 takedown average over 15 minutes. And although he's got a 25% accuracy, it doesn't have it here. But Kurt Holobaugh does not defend takedowns well. His takedown defense accuracy is low. So I think this 25% here is going to be balanced out. I got Jordan Leavitt for the win here, and I got Jordan Leavitt for the win via decision. I don't know what the odds on that are. Maybe someone in the chat can tell me. Maybe it's an upside play. Trevin Giles versus Andreas Gustafsson. This is a very hard one for me because I don't think Gustafsson is a good fighter. I really don't. But Trevin Giles is a type of fighter where, again, you can push the pace on him. You can lull him into a fight that you want. You can get him a bit uncomfortable. And Andreas Gustafsson is going to try that here. He's going to push him into the clinch and try and do what he wants with him. I think it's going to be successful. I also think Andreas Gustafsson could hurt Trevin Giles on the feet. I think he can get hurt on the feet, though. Trevin Giles is a much better boxer here. You know, he's got a better 1-2. He's got a better jab. He plays at range better. So I do think that Trevin Giles has a good chance to win on the feet. I just don't have a good read on the fight. I never want to trust Giles. I got Gustafsson for the win here. I think he probably lands something big on Giles outside of the clinch, in the clinch, maybe a big shot. Giles is tired at this point. Gustafsson starts to thrive. But man, I don't think this guy's good. I would never bet him. But I do think he wins this fight against Trevin Giles here. Balaji Oki versus Michael Aswell. This is a short notice fight. 12 hours ago, this got announced. I haven't taped Aswell. I'm not breaking down the fight. The next fight, the first fight of the night, is Alice Ardaline versus Rayani dos Santos. I think this line's wide here. I don't understand how Alice Ardaline is plus 250. It doesn't really make sense. I will say that Rayani dos Santos is probably a better striker than her. She's definitely a better submission grappler than her. And is she a better wrestler? Probably not. I don't really know. But I do think overall, she's just a better fighter, right? Now, I also feel like, though, that she isn't a better fighter by a big enough margin to make her a massive favorite to where she is at the moment. She's minus 300. So, yeah, I don't have a massive thing to say about this one. I just think it could be a close, sweaty fight. I think that Dos Santos has some finishing upside in this fight. So that's Dos Santos via finish, maybe an upside play. But I also think Alice Ardaline moneyline is an upside play. So that's it. I'll take Dos Santos for the win here, but I'll say it's a 29-28 decision, a very close fight, maybe split decision, or maybe Dos Santos gets a inside the distance win from top control or even from bottom. I predict an armbar being very live in this fight. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. We run through the entire card in 26 minutes. Because I'm very busy and I have to go now. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want my official bets and if you want to join me in my MMA community where we speak about MMA with other gamblers and myself, I'm in there every day. We also speak about other sports. And you want my official bets, all of my bets, got my max bet out for next week. We've got a 94% hit rate on max bet. So if you sign up now, you get my max bet, which 94% chance is going to hit. You know, that's not how it works. But basically, you know, I don't miss these. We're looking to go 40 wins with only 4 losses on that. So yeah, if you sign up, you get access to all of that stuff and the community chat and the long shot parlays and stuff. That's it. Join, sign up, make money with me. We're up 65 units this year. Insane record. I'm going to try and continue it. The goal is always 100 units every single year. And most years we've been able to do that. And over the average, we've been able to average that, which is the most important thing. Over the 5 years I've been doing this, 6 years I've been doing this. Half a decade I'm in now, boys. I'm 15 years gambling. And 5 years, 6 years doing it online with you guys. So shout out to you. Hopefully we can make some money this weekend. Peace out, guys. Love. And that's it. Boom.